Your prayers are going unanswered because you're praying to a God that doesn't exist. And before you let your cognitive dissonance make you click off this video, just stay with me for a moment. Let's have a discussion. I'm not saying that God isn't real. I'm not saying that there isn't a creative intelligence that's flowing through everything in existence. But what I'm saying is that the way in which most of us were taught to pray, which was via pleading, crying, begging, and hoping, and the more desperate we'd seem and the more tears we had, then the more or the better that God would respond. But eventually, I grew up. I had to learn to edify myself and discard all of the notions, the ways of thinking, the ways of being, the habits, you know, that were put into me as a child. I had to relinquish the things that I was taught growing up because I realized that I did not want to live the life that my family has lived. And not that it is a bad one, but I realized that I wanted more. I wanted to be more. I wanted to experience more. And in order to have that, in order to have a different experience, I could not make the same choices and decisions that they made. I could not think in the same manner that they thought. And I also realized that the more that I started to grow, the more that I started to leave the consciousness that I was in or that I was raised in as a child, the better my experience actually became in this realm or on this 3D plane. You see, it was multiple things that I think that shifted for me. I've read a lot of books, watched a lot of videos, attended seminars, and met some wonderful people. But it was this quote that Neville Goddard said, which is that prayer is not begging an external God, but prayer is assuming the consciousness of the thing that it is that you desire. And in simple terms, that simply means that you're not begging, pleading, crying, and hoping for something to happen or someone to come into your life or for a certain experience, but instead you assume the consciousness of the person who has the things that it is that you desire. You become it before your external circumstances show you that it's real. It becomes real in here and in here first before it becomes real out here. And I know that sounds like a bunch of BS, but when you see how many successful people have said the same freaking thing since the dawn of time, you start to try to believe it because you see that they have the results that you want to have. And coming from me, the more that I started to believe in these things and to practice these principles and to embody them, not just say them, not just think about them for fun, not just talk about them with friends, but to actually work on embodying them, the better my life got. Your consciousness is more real than anything that you're currently experiencing physically. And I know that sounds like BS, but what you are conscious of being is what's going to get created time and time again. You see, that's the God that's actually listening. Not your words, but whatever you are embodying within your heart of hearts. That's the God that you're praying to, despite the things that come out of your mouth, because that's the feeling, that's the vibration that is the strongest within you. So you may be asking yourself, okay, I've watched the videos, I've listened to the podcast, I've read the books, but why do I still feel like I'm lying to myself when I say affirmations? Why can I logically know how I should feel and how I should think, but I'm still feeling the worry, the doubt, and the fear? Why is it so hard to relinquish overthinking thoughts about fear, worry, and doubt? And I hear you. You see, we're going to get to that. First, let's talk about what does it mean to pray to a God that doesn't exist. To me, it means that if you're praying for abundance, but you're still in a consciousness of lack, you're still checking your bank account out of fear, you're very tight with your money, like someone's trying to pry it out of your fingers, you are not even sometimes wanting to check your account at all. Sometimes the financial decisions that you're making aren't in coherence with the version of yourself that you say you want to be, whether that's in relation to your health, the growth of your business, or the growth of, whatever it is that you're working on, your education. Or maybe you have this assumption that all men are trash or all women are trash, whatever this belief is that you have about money or about relationships or whatever else it is that you want to manifest. And you're saying that you want the opposite of those things, but your belief is still that of lack, that of a lower vibration. You're never going to attract the positive aspects of the things that it is that you want to experience or that you want to have. And so every time you pray, especially from a vibration of fear, lack, worry, or doubt, you're only amplifying the current negative experience that you're already experiencing. You don't believe that you're worthy of abundance, or you don't believe that you're worthy of love, or you don't believe that you can attract it. You don't believe that it can be easy. You don't believe that it can be yours. There's still a lot of doubt, worry, and fear deeply ingrained in you, despite wanting the money, wanting the success, wanting the love. And you see, because your consciousness doesn't respond to what you're saying, it only responds to whatever vibration is being amplified. That's what's going to keep being created. And so you can say I am abundant 1,000 times, but if underneath all of that you're still living from a lower vibrational nature, your prayers will continue to be unanswered, because technically you're praying to the wrong God. I know that's a roundabout of saying things, but it really is as simple as that. God is going to prove to you whatever you believe to be true. You say this is true about life, well, then I'm gonna prove it to you. I'm not gonna give you the opposite. That defeats the purpose, because what does it say? Ask and it's given. This is what you're asking for deep down inside within your heart of hearts. This is what I'm gonna keep perpetuating into your life. And this is exactly where I was for a very long time. And it took me a while actually to realize what I was doing to myself. But once I realized it, I began to change, take the steps to change it. I realized that I was half in, half out. Half in a consciousness of abundance, but then half in a consciousness of lack. Some things would manifest very easily for me with zero resistance, but then some things wouldn't manifest at all, or in fact, it'll be difficult. And I, especially when it relates to money, it would be the most difficult. And I would always wonder why, until I realized that I was doing it to myself, because I never fully left the addiction to struggle mindset, aka the lack consciousness. I still was there. Some part of me was there, and that's how it was manifesting for me, was via money. You see, I've manifested so many things. I've manifested traveling abroad. I've manifested visa approvals. I've manifested friends, opportunities, and people, places, and things. And I just realized that I could manifest all of these different things, but consistent financial abundance was always a struggle point for me. And so for everything that I claimed, I realized I didn't have a deep attachment of fear to it. I wasn't afraid of too much of visas. I wasn't afraid of, not meeting people or not having opportunities. But when it came to money, because I had this attachment to it of feeling like I need this to survive, there is no other way. There was a deep-rooted fear in relation to money. And so I would sabotage myself, because I felt like either I had to work extremely hard to get it, or I had to pass up a lot of investment opportunities in myself or into things to keep it. Or I would try to do a lot of other things that may not have been the best decisions in order to get money, because I felt like I really needed it. But then when I made a decision. I just simply made a subtle switch. And I know that sounds so simple, but it can be very hard to get to this point. It's kind of like you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's exactly what it was. I realized I made a lot of big decisions in my life, and this was going to be no different. I made a decision to change my way of eating, no longer eat meat or consume animal products for the most part. I made a decision to start fasting despite never doing that in my life, and start cleansing. And I stuck to it, and I did it. I made a decision to leave my home country, to go somewhere where I knew no one and I had no job and I have to make it on my own. And I did that. So I had to make a decision to be done with the lack consciousness, to be done with the lack mentality, despite whatever my external circumstances were showing me, and to start knowing that it's okay for things to be easy. I don't have to be David Goggins. Some people may be in that phase of life, but that's not the phase of life that I'm in. It's okay for things to come to me easy. It's okay for money to flow to me. I am safe. I am worthy of receiving wealth, enormous sums of it, and really knowing my worth and being okay with things being easy. That was really, really difficult for me to get to that point, but eventually I got to it. And the more that I started embodying the art of allowing things to be easy, allowing opportunities to present itself, and also shifting my perspective, realizing that anything and everything that happened in my life was always aligned. Even if it didn't seem like it, it was aligned for a reason. I may not know the why, but I choose to believe that it is aligned. I choose to believe that I am living in alignment I choose to believe that anything that's meant for me, any opportunity, any money that's meant for me will never pass me by. And so I've gotten to a point where the money that's meant for me, it never passes me by. The opportunities, the people, the places, the things, the love that I'm meant to receive, it never passes me by. And it simply started with making a choice, making a decision to just change the way that I'm going to perceive the experiences that I have in this life. Instead of saying, it's because they hate me, that's why I didn't get the job. It's because I'm this, that's why I didn't get the opportunity. It's because I didn't have enough money, I couldn't. No, if it was meant, I would have had it. If it was meant, I would have met them. If it was meant, it would have been done. And if it wasn't, that's because something else, something better is coming along. And oftentimes when you start to embody that way of thinking, better things come along all the time, all the time. So here's what I want you to do to start actually making this shift, which is going to be 4 steps. First, I want you to get honest with yourself about the consciousness that you are in or that you are embodying. What kind of God are you praying to? Do you believe that you're worthy? Do you believe that you're capable? And if you realize that you are in this lower vibrational consciousness, this lack mentality, that you're praying to a God that, you know, that you have to beg, plead, cry, and hope to, I want you to move to the second step. Step 2 is to stop letting your external circumstances dictate every decision that you make in relation to your life. You have to start to make the decision to embody the person that it is that you wish to be in here first. Be okay with not knowing the how and the when. And that comes from constantly talking to yourself simply throughout your day, which leads into the third step, right? When you pray, you affirm. When you meditate or visualize, you visualize it already done. Not how it's gonna happen, not when it's gonna happen. You visualize it as it's already done. The money's already in the account. You've already met the love of your life. How does it feel to be with that person? How does it feel to have this money? What decisions are you making? Are you going out and buy things that you've always wanted without looking or thinking twice? Focus on the feeling of it. And of course, it's not gonna be easy. Training muscle never is. It starts off with some type of resistance, but with resistance comes growth. With practice comes improvement. So you do these things all the time, despite the resistance that's showing up, because your old consciousness will definitely try to keep you from the future that you know you could be experiencing, the better life that you know you can have. And you simply tell yourself, that's the old consciousness, that's not me anymore. I tell myself that all the time. My old consciousness still comes up sometimes because of years of conditioning of the environment I grew up in. It's not easy to let go years of conditioning, but it definitely is possible. But it comes with training and working with your mind, even on a daily basis, which leads to step 4, making small daily decisions every day. Stop checking your bank account out of fear. Stop thinking that all men or women are trash or that you can't experience love. Stop thinking that you aren't worthy. Stop thinking that the government is out to get you. Start moving as the person that I know that you are, that you know that you are. Start moving as the person that already has the things that it is that you want to have. And eventually, inevitably, without a doubt, you will have it. You will experience it. Know that it's handled. Stop praying to a God of lack. Stop praying to a God of not enough. Stop praying to a God of, if I just work hard to the bone, I'll have it. Stop praying to a God of, I have to figure this out alone. Start praying to the God of abundance. Start praying to the God of love. Start praying to the God of wholeness, of light, of knowing that you are worthy and that you will have all that it is that you desire. Hopefully this video helped you in some way, but I'm wishing you peace, love, light, and healing, and I'll see you next time.